Have we got, have we got, do we need closed captions?
Closed captions are available
Great.
if people want to use them. If people have any accessibility needs, they want to message me or Jen separately, that's fine. Or if people just need to say something that helps you be here, like, if you have to go early, or if you have to eat, or if there's somebody's going to visit and make a loud noise, or whatever, just checking if there's anything that's going to make you more comfortable by sharing.
I've got something
Thanks, Catherine.
just on my mind, what you just mentioned. Thank you. At some point, my partner John is going to come home. He doesn't know I'm doing this Zoom, and I expect he'll be very noisy and start shouting things, well, not shouting, but saying very loudly, I'm home, and those sorts of things. And because I'm on my phone, I don't know haven't seen how to mute it. So I'll probably just, I'll leave the room when he comes.
Okay. Or if anybody can help Catherine with how to mute her phone.
We can do that to people if you mouse over in the top right hand side. Oh, it is on mine anyway. For everybody's, it says mute and then there's 3 dots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
So we've muted you. Who? Let's see who's doing the muting. Was that?
Thanks, Joe.
Was that you, Joe? Okay. Well, Joe, you can have the responsibility of the muting. Otherwise, it'll be chaos.
And if Catherine wants to say something, perhaps
got it. Yeah.
There you go. Awesome with it. Okay, great. So we've got record going. That's right. So here we are, Regenerative Cultures Circle, welcoming you all today who are coming in live. And also, of course, because it's being recorded, hello to all you people who are going to watch this in the future. Yay, we can be in the future as well as the present. Time travel. Brilliant. So here we are with this introductory session about regenerative cultures. And just a couple of things then. So it's lovely if you wanted to say like where you're from, perhaps you'd like to put that into the chat. You will have some opportunities a little bit later to do some more check-ins together. Okay. So yeah, if you wanted to put that in where you're from or some of the circles you might be involved in. We've got another little darling coming in. Within this Extinction Rebellion movement, you're welcome to do that. So that's right, this evening we've got this, what we feel is lovely participatory workshop. Yeah. Of course, we're growing our understanding of regenerative cultures together all the time, aren't we? Well, I certainly am. And at the same time, we really are letting you know a bit more about the approach we are taking in Regenerative Cultures Circle within our beautiful Extinction Rebellion movement. We are taking an approach. Good. So, yeah, I think there are the things that I needed to start with. So there are other members of the circle here. You can see Steve is a member of Regenerative Cultures Circle, and Heather here is our internal coordinator, and Vicky's here as well, and Joe's here. So all 5 of us are here with you. And you are also regenerators, of course, no doubt. So maybe I can now hand over to Steve, who's going to do a grounding practice. And maybe actually just before that, just to say, so we're going to be looking at what cultures are, what regenerative cultures are together, what values are linked to all of that, and opportunities to hear our vision and how this is living in our movement and in the work we do, hey? All right, so over to Steve.
Thanks, Jen. I'm going to do a grounding just for a few minutes. I'm guessing most of you probably know what a grounding is, but just in case, briefly, it's about letting us focus on what we're doing here tonight, on being in the here and the now. So this will just be a few minutes, and if we can just Try and make yourself comfortable in your chair or whatever you're sitting on. And I want us to take a nice, sharpish breath in, about 4 seconds. And then when we breathe out, we're going to breathe out for a bit longer, maybe 6 or 8. Don't push yourself for something that, you know, that's uncomfortable. Okay. In. And then out. We'll do this 2 more times. In. And then out. And 1 more time. In. And out. So I'll start off by reminding us of the season that we're in. It's autumn outside my window, but it's also autumn for me inside in my personal life. That time of not closure, but things calming down a little bit, things gathering in. So I'm going to do a simple body check for us, so we can acknowledge if we've got any problems or any feelings that we might have. So if we start off, if you would like to close your eyes, if you can. If you're not, that's fine. Maybe just half close your eyes or look away from the screen a little. Okay. Give your toes a little wriggle. Move your feet around. And then move on up with your calves towards your knees. Those knees are all those that take a lot of stress physically throughout the day. Is there anything going on there? Is there anything aching? Or perhaps it's feeling better for you today? Let's go on move up towards our hips. The hips, which is roughly our center of gravity that helps keep us balanced, as well as that little framework that we hang our legs and other bits and pieces off. Perhaps give it a little movement, a little bit of a swivel around, just comfortably. Move up our chest towards the chest and our ribs. Ribs that move in and out every time we breathe, although we may be not conscious of it. Just another gentle breath and be conscious still, although with your normal breathing, be conscious of your breathing rather than something that's automatic. Move on to our hands. Give your fingers a little wiggle, a little stretch. Make sure they're comfortable as much as they can be. Then onto our elbows. Maybe just give them a little movement, whatever you feel is necessary. Then onto our shoulders. I always like to give my shoulders a little bit of a stretch because it's easy to lean forward on a screen and end up sitting in a hunched forward position without realizing it. Then up to our neck. The neck is something we maybe don't think about very often, but it's easy to get aches and pains in our neck. It supports our head, our skull, and hopefully rotates around enough so we can see around us. And then onto our head. The head can consist of your eyes, your nose, your ears, your mouth, and the crown at the top of your head. Linking in that line from the roots of the ground up into the sky. Okay, thank you everybody. If you'd like to open your eyes whenever you're ready, and then we can move on to the next part, which I think is Heather.
Yeah, just taking your time about coming back to the screen. And do let me know if you can't hear me, or if you need me to repeat anything, if I've done some gobbledygook. So as Jen said in the introduction, yeah, we're taking a particular approach. And in this workshop, we're wanting to gather in all of us to take this approach. So we're not presenting regenerative cultures to you in a box. We want us to explore this idea of a different sort of culture together. Yes, so, you know, what do we mean by culture? You know, simply how we do what we do. Often the cultures we're in, they've become so much a part of us that we don't always notice we're in them. So I love this quote I found from an Australian Maori woman, and I'm probably going to pronounce her name not properly, so apologizes to her. Hawatea Holly Bryson. She says, culture is a normative part of the self that is not explicitly taught, but assimilated through participation in it. And then she says, culture is the pool in which we are immersed. So that sense of it almost being part of ourselves without us knowing it. And of course, there's different kinds of cultures. So, you know, I live in Wales. Theo, yes, Theo's just coming in to say she's not seeing other people's introductions. I think, Theo, you are the only person who's introduced yourself in the chat. So if people can multitask and listen to me and also say something about where you're from in the chat, that's great. Otherwise, I'm sure we can catch up with it during the session. But thank you. And I'm going to try not engage with the chat. So if my fellow regenerative cultures, if there's anything I need to know, will you let me know? Okay, so yes, I was saying, so different sorts of cultures. So in Wales, I'm in Wales, there's a whole set of cultural identities. So people do go to these, like from when they're small in school, these annual Eisteddfods where they perform songs and dances. There's particular kinds of Welsh poetry. There's male voice choirs. That's a whole set of culture that people can get steeped in. And of course, there's, you know, there's religious culture, there's national culture, there's spiritual culture. There's also, we have personal culture or family culture. Like, you know, do you have breakfast? How do you have breakfast? What do you have for breakfast? Do you grab a cup of coffee and out of the door? Or is this a gathering for, you know, a household or a family? So all these different ways we are part of cultures. So I just wanted us maybe just to take a couple of minutes for us to just individually sort of tune in to what cultures, any cultures we could identify for ourselves that we are in. Whether, you know, whether it's a family culture, whether it's a personal culture, whether it's a part of a bigger group. So just be quiet for a couple of minutes while we do this. So if anybody would like to either share or write in the chat a culture they feel part of, that would be great. Any thoughts? Cycling culture, part of regenerative culture, circle culture, Vicky. Any other cultures? I feel part of most indigenous people, but mostly the Vaishnava culture. How do you, yeah, and the Krishna movement. Thank you, Julia. Yes. Joe, XR culture. Yes, as a movement, we have a culture. Ah, Vicky, small rural village culture, school culture. Steve, I'm part of a culture within my family. Another for friends, another for growing plants, and maybe a wider world one. James, I'm a member of a circle of gay men who are concerned about the climate and ecological crisis. Yeah, so that you have your own culture there. Thanks, James. Rebecca, part of a university, local town. Thanks, Rebecca. Theo, in the British culture we live in, class is a major factor we often overlook. Thanks, Theo. I come from an upper middle class culture, a survivor of boarding school. So some of the cultures we inherit or sit inside us may no longer be may not be still comfortable for us. Sometimes we've signed up to cultures that don't sit well with us in some ways. Ah, Jen, I've been in an emerging culture of people not living in brick buildings, caravans and vans, but I'm part of a value-orientated culture. So fantastic. We're going to come on and talk about values. So is everybody, does this make sense to people, these different cultures that we're part of? And some of them are maybe more apparent to us, and some of them are a bit more in our bones. They're just who we are somehow. Yeah, so Bart has pointed us in a direction of values. And of course, you know, it's our values. Oh, you're struck by how challenging it is to notice cultures. Yes. Thanks, Jen. Yeah, fear, and I'm aware that our histories stick with us, though we often try to rebel against them. Yes, those cultures that sort of ensnare us, although we don't want to still be ensnared. Yes, so looking at values, I guess a culture tells us what that group of people valued, what they put first, what they made important, what we left out. So perhaps it's the values of a group or society that shape the culture. Jen?
Yeah, it just seems amazing to me that Bart came in with that just before you said you were going to say it. So I'm just wondering, Bart, would you actually be able to tell us? I mean, you know, just in case it's okay. If it's not okay, no problem. But when you say a value-orientated culture, could we just ask you the values that are orientating your culture?
Can you hear us, Bart? Not sure if you're able to unmute, or maybe.
Sometimes Bart's connection is bad.
Hello,
Bart,
Right.
can you hear me
awesome.
now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Happy to be with you this evening.
Delighted, delighted.
Yeah.
Did you hear the question, Bart, about the values that orientate your culture? Yeah.
Yeah, what that is that, you know, we in today's world, we live in the urban areas whereby we live with different, you know, cultures and people from different locations and even different races. And you discover that the urban life, you know, forget about where they are coming from, you know, the culture of, you know, their not culture of where they are coming from, and, you know, the culture and the values of where they're coming from. So they take off a new culture and, you know, begin to behave or act as in differently from, you know, the values, or they act at variance with the values of their own culture. And we here in Africa, you know, there are some of our cultures that actually by the time the Western people came in here to colonize us, some of our cultures were seen as barbaric or repugnant to natural justice. So, but not all of that. At least we still had, you know, values that we cherish. And yeah, that is why I believe in culture. I believe in the values of a society, because when the values are eroded, you know, anything goes. People do whatever they think they can do. But the moment the society believes in certain values, like for instance, in the Western world, democracy has been imbibed as a value system. And this democracy is valued in like manner. But, you know, in Africa, it is now that democracy is somehow being imposed on us. So it trickles down to other aspects of life as well. You understand? So that is the issue. Like if you come to environmental issue and pollution, before now, before it was Westerners that came and discovered. And since oil exploration, we have had irrigation. Otherwise, we used to have a natural environment. So that is the perspective I'm coming from.
Thank you. Thank you, Bart. We were just losing you at the end there, but thank you for, yes, for bringing in this aspect of sometimes cultures get imposed on people, and particularly through colonialism. This has happened in Africa and in other places.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bart. So maybe I'll move on to an exploration we could do on what matters to us. So what are our values. So I'm going to invite us into breakout groups shortly, and great breakout groups of 3. If you don't want to be in a breakout group for any reason, perhaps you could either put a little asterisk or something by your name, or you could message Joe, who is the big breakout person. Vicky.
Sorry, I'm muted. It was only to catch just something Bart said that I just wrote down and that just resonated. It's about what values we cherish. And it was that word cherish, that we do have values imposed or well, they're all imposed in a way from the culture we're floating about in. But that word cherish, just
Yes.
something not to, I don't know, I just wanted to capture it.
Thank you, Vicky. There's something about that holding in that way of a value. Yes.
Yeah.
What's nurtured, what's cherished. Yes, so Laura's leaving but hoping to come back. Hope you do come back, Laura. So there'll be an opportunity to share what you deeply value, what we all deeply value. And we're going to do this in a sort of speaking, listening format. So one of the cultures in our regenerative culture circle is to both deeply listen, or aim to both deeply listen to ourselves and what's emergent, not what's always just here, but also what's deeply in us, but also to aim to really give space to listen to each other. So in this listening exercise, I'm going to be in 3s, going to suggest you introduce yourself, because you haven't really had an opportunity to do that, and decide somebody, the practical details, decide somebody to keep an eye on the time, and then when you're ready to move into the exercise, you can make it formal and you can make yourselves A, B, and C, but it's not that complicated. So, for instance, if you were A, you would be the person who spoke first. And so this is not a sort of conversation, people taking turns to speak. So if you were A, you speak first, and B would be asking you the question to help start you off. What do you deeply value? And perhaps somebody could write that in the chat now while I'm still talking. And then, so depending on how, we're going to have 11 minutes altogether for this. So there's potentially maybe 2 or 3 minutes each. So obviously just checking on the time. So when you're asked that question, really taking your time and seeing what comes up and really letting yourself be free about it. It might be, a pet. It might be a way of being, it's like, let's not think about it too much. Let's just see what arrives. There's no right, there's no wrong, there's no assessment about this. Then if you speak for up to the 3 minutes you have, if you run out of things to say, you might pause, and B, or whoever's doing the question, might just gently ask you again to prompt you. What do you deeply value? And then basically go round, take it in turn. So if I was in a group of 3 with Jen and Vicky, and I was A, Jen was B, Vicky was C. Jen would start off after we'd introduced each other and we'd sorted out the timing by asking me, Heather, what do you deeply value? And then Jen would have a turn with Vicky asking Jen, and then Vicky would have a turn with me asking Vicky. So if this seems to be stating the obvious, but I know so many times I get into a breakout room that people are doing workshops and I go, what are we doing? Is that clear? Any questions? Okay. So we have, 11 minutes from now, and those of us in the circle are going to stay in the big room, and those of you not in the circle will go out into breakout rooms, unless you're not going into a breakout room where you can stay in the big room and eavesdrop on us, because we're going to be recorded, but obviously you're not going to be recorded when you're in a breakout group.
To start.
There you go.
So, Jen, what do you deeply value? And I can say it again if you like. What do you deeply value?
Peace. Ease. Space. Connection. Understanding other species, being able to hear the birds, walking slowly, moving slowly, feeling well, collective well-being, fun, laughter, joy, adventure. Yeah, feeling very closely connected with other species. Yeah, really value that. Thank you.
Thank you,
Amy?
Jen.
Can I ask someone who would like to be asked? Okay. Steve, what do you deeply value?
I deeply value my children, who keep in very frequent and regular touch with, go out socially to things. It's a very close connection that I'm very happy I have. I value biodiversity and all kind of diversity, really. It's what makes up life in all kinds of life to me. Something that's important to acknowledge, that life is everything, not only us. I value nature, plants, which is no big shock to any of you, I think. Mainly, I think, because it's been a part of my life ever since I was 3 years old, as I can remember. And all the family, we used to live with my grandparents, so all the family used to garden, grow things, and that's where a lot of it came from for me, and it's continued and still does.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you.
Steve, would you like to ask someone?
Yeah, if anybody would like to be asked, Joe?
Oh, okay. Yeah, freedom, our birds, walking in woods, yeah, green, all green, trees, love trees. Oh, cats, but lots of animals. My friends, my female friends, my relationships, actually many relationships, my past relationships, people I don't see anymore. My house that I live in. The people I'm connected with through Extinction Rebellion. The people I've been connected with way back through the peace movement and things like that. All these wonderful connections that I've had in my life. Just amazing people.
That was nice to do.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really nice to listen to.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you
so much.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope we're all back. Count them all out and count them all in. I hope everybody landed safely. I think everybody did in the end. Sorry, some people. I think, Mary, you were on your own for a bit whilst we reorganized things because some people weren't able to join through technology.
Yes, I was with somebody who couldn't unmute, and then I went into the outer wilderness for a few seconds, and then I went into another group, and it was fine.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. I wouldn't like to have thought of you stuck in the outer wilderness. Yes, so I hope that was helpful or interesting or something. And maybe just holding the sense of those values, if you want to write any that really came strongly to you in the chat, that's very welcome. But we'll fold them in. So keep them with you, whether you write them or not, as we carry on this exploration together. So I guess in a moment we're going to move on to sharing where we've got to as the Regenerative Culture Circle with some of this conversation. But I also wanted maybe to do a bit of compare and contrast with maybe the business as usual culture. You know, some of the cultures that have already been mentioned that we're a part of, that we don't feel comfortable in, but they're hard to step out of. The colonial culture that impacts all of us, but some of us much more greatly. And often, you know, a value in those cultures, what is counted as important is having, isn't it? It's like people and other beings and the earth itself being a resource that can be owned, that can be utilized for people's benefits or for power. And that sense of an ecosystem, if we think of, you know, the whole globe, an ecosystem that is disrupted through this extractive type of value. Yeah, so maybe just noticing how that feels in us. I notice as I talk about it, I feel sort of tight in the chest. So I pass over to Jen to talk about a bit more about our vision and where we've got to, and we can see how that all sort of fits with this exploration we're doing together. Jen.
Yes, thank you so much, Heather. And just inviting a pause, if that's okay. Let's just bring a pause in right now. The invitation to feel our feet again on the ground, the seat under us. They're just invitations to be taken or left, or taken a little bit maybe. And that's right. So here we are, the Regenerative Culture Circle. And we took some time, over writing this vision that we're going to share with you. We have been sharing with you. I think we finalized it about a year ago now. And it took us some time to come to this vision. Time listening to each other, what was important to each other, the people in the circle. And I can tell you, just to be quite personal about it, I, for one, find it much easier now to represent regenerative cultures in the various places that I, as the external coordinator, do at the moment. Now that I sit in this vision, that's what I feel. I feel I'm sitting in it. And it's really shared between us as members of this circle, Regenerative Culture Circle. And I also would like to invite that, to be honest, what it's pointing to is presence itself, the emergence of what's coming through all the time by having my feet on the ground. Something from that speaks. So here's the vision, and somehow this attunes this being, Jenny, to where we're coming from, in case it's helpful. That's right. And Joe's just sharing it in case for some of you it's helpful to see it. And if it's not helpful to see it, maybe you'd like to hear it. And if neither are helpful, then maybe just let all of it out and sit in the sense of something that's just coming through to you. Okay, so here it is. And we have this sort of precursor sentence because we really want to welcome that we're doing this together, and it's always emerging. Extinction Rebellion Regenerative Culture Circle has been on a journey of growth. We continue to journey and to grow together with you. Here is our vision of continued growth. Visioning our human part in a culture of regeneration that moves from ecosystem to ecosystem. Nourishing inclusive relationships that listen to and are more balanced with life and its natural cycles. We recognize and honor the diversity and continual evolution of cultures of humans and all life. We therefore advocate for the committed, conscious, and continual exploration and cultivation of regenerative cultures. So just inviting a pause, if that's okay, to just see how this is felt by you, how it feels, if that's all right, or how it senses in you, or any images that come, colors. Who am I to say what might happen? So Joe, is it possible to bring us back to just seeing each other's faces? Thank you so much. So yeah, just really welcoming you. We've just got a couple of minutes for this. If you wanted to, ask any questions about that or share how that feels for you. That's right. There's no push. That's it. Maria has something. Thank you, Maria.
I think that's the first time I've seen that. And I can appreciate that the words have been thought of and thought over, and it's quite a compact vision. I kind of feel like I'm not in focus in the room that I've walked into when I come into that. I can sense that there's something about evolution, about nurturing, about listening to, and so on. But I need more time, I think, and I need more examples before I can actually share the vision with you. So I'm not there yet, but I trust that it is beautiful when you see it. But I can't see it yet.
Thanks so much, Maria. So thank you. So something about needing time to let this in. So thank you for letting us know that. And also something about something in you wanting to share in it. Yeah? Yeah, thank you. Okay. Some kind of immersion in it. I don't know. Catherine's got something. Come on in. Oh, I can't hear ya. Can you come off mute? Or if someone can help Catherine with thanks.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so Maria, just really noticed what you said, and I thought, yes, that feels like what I'm thinking, sounds like what I'm thinking as well. And I know this is putting you a bit on the spot, Jen, and you can say no if you want to.
It's awesome.
Are you able to give an example for yourself, from your own experience, where you have experienced what you have just read out to us? And that,
yes.
Thank you.
I definitely can. Thank you so much. It's really nice of you. So yeah, I was in a smaller circle last week, and we were discussing a kind of challenge that we were facing. And we got to this point where it was kind of like an impasse. We were kind of like, actually, maybe there's three of us. And we were like, no idea how we can sort of like move this on. We needed to speak to some people from another circle, yeah? And didn't quite know how to do it. And I can honestly tell you that what I did is I felt my feet on the ground. So drop down from this thinking one, yeah? It was sort of going, oh my God, we've got to come up with a decision now. Yeah. It's like, just feeling my feet on the ground. Outside this window, it's a lovely garden. It's quite small, but there's a lot of plants. And I just literally, this is the way I did it, yeah? So I don't want to set anything in stone here, just sharing something, yeah? Because there's multiplicity. We like multiplicity around here, don't we? Not like another colonization. So I looked out the window, and there was something about how the grasses were moving. And there was something about the sound of the birds, and there was something about how the person sort of walked past. I think they were delivering like something, yeah. I don't know, yeah, delivery parcel. And there was something about all of that that helped me see that what I needed to do with this team I needed to go to was start with gratitude. Yeah. Just letting you know that's how it moved through this body. And that's what we did. And we created also already a great connection with this group. Heather.
And I see Fear wants to come in. And I think we've also chewed over this vision, and really it can be really simplified to that phrase, moving from ego system that circles around us, to ecosystem, that sense of valuing both the individual, so our self-care, but also the ecosystem of whatever we're in. And most of the vision is talking to relationships, the idea of nurturing relationships. And instead of, like in business as usual, it being a sense of what can we possess, what do we own, what can we take, it's like, how do we sit in relationship with each other? And that's internal, between us, and between all things. So that's maybe a bit more straightforward way of talking about it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Heather. Theo.
Yes, actually, Heather, you said almost exactly what I was going to say. I really like the ecosystem to ecosystem. That's really nicely put. I like that. And what came unity, like being part of an ecosystem is being part of a community, and that can be a community of grasses or a community of fish or a community of all sorts of different things. But because we're humans, we have the challenge of creating a community amongst ourselves. And I really like the way you said ecosystem to ecosystem. Excellent bit of language there. So yes, I'm pretty much saying what Heather's saying, actually.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So even we probably need to move on to the next part now. I'm just sort of acknowledging that you might have some other things you're wanting to bring with it to this. Hey, we can have another get together another time, mate. We can have another get together. So yeah, I think it's over to Vicky. We're bringing another part in now, if that's all right. Over to you, Vicky.
Thanks, Jen. Well, actually, I think this part isn't a different part. It seems to me to flow into what's just been said. I need to ask Joe to, in a moment, well, I'll just explain. We've got 9 images, and I'm going to invite you just to step into each image on your own. Just step into it and notice your response to each one. Maybe the question, is this a regenerative image of a regenerative culture, or is it extractive? And, as you step in and stay there for a bit, how each one makes you feel. And then we can have more of a shared look at them again. So Joe, could you just pop them up in maybe about 10 seconds for each image with that idea, just step in individually and your response, whether it's regenerative or extractive, and how it makes you feel. Thanks, Joe. If you can make them a bit bigger, oh, don't worry, it's great. Yeah, and this time it'd be good to hear from you with a view to thinking about what kind of culture, what would the culture be like that would allow this? So, and, you know, what would the values be that lie behind this end result? And I'm happy for you to put them in the chat, or if you'd like to speak them out as they come to you, that would be great. But thinking about that, what are the values that allow this to occur? What lies behind it?
So I went back to uni about 10 years ago to learn economics because I felt that economics was one of the things that was getting in the way of actively doing something to limit climate change. So from an economics perspective, the only value that matters is money. Money is supposed to give you an accurate representation of value. So anything that is priceless in both senses of that word does not have a value as far as economists are concerned. And economists are very influential on the way we think about politics. So for me, this is the value we're looking at, is this is what happens if the only value that we think that matters is money.
Thanks, Rebecca. Julia's got her hand up.
Yeah, I remember as a teenager, before I grew up at the age of 16, I was surrounded by people, girls, who all they wanted was makeup, they wanted clothes, they cared about fashion. And then it was really nice to be around, I guess the boys' school, the Buddhist boys made me wake up to the values of living without these kind of artificial endowments which don't give you happiness, which just makes people compete and encourages envy and jealousy, and actually doesn't help promote a self-esteem, worth in oneself. It's actually depletes from any values of self-worth and self-esteem because they're such artificial coverings. And therefore, that's why that we see that picture. And the fashion industry is the second highest polluter on the planet.
Thanks, Julia, very much. I can see Theo with her hand up too.
Yes, I think, well, the word waste comes to mind. It's something about using stuff. I mean, it's really what Rebecca said about only money has a value. But in this case, it's a picture of waste, but it's also a picture of colonialism and power, and the power of those of us who have the capacity to waste in this way. We don't live in a place where we have to save things. We live in a place where we just can throw things out. And then they end up going into countries where people have to somehow deal with these mountains of waste. So to me, it's a picture of colonialism as well as extractivism.
Thank you, Theo. I can't see anybody else, so I'm going to move on if that's okay. Joe, can we have the next one?
Vicky, in the chat, there's a couple of things that have been written as well. James is talking about the severed relationship between oneself and the natural world, sense of separation. And Rebecca's talking about this sense that in the natural world, there is no waste. Yeah, thanks so much. The dung beetle.
Thank you. Okay, so this one, same question. What kind of values or what would have to be happening in order for this to be the end result? This is a repair cafe. Maybe I could just say a few things about, I would think, communication. Joe, can you go through them again? Just to the more positive ones, perhaps. So this one, I would say friendship. I would say negotiation. I would say a value of sharing. Keep going, Joe. I was hoping that I could ask a bit more, but anyway, and just go perhaps to, yeah, stay with that one, Joe. There were a couple of others, but let's stick with this one, and just to ask you really how this one makes you feel. You know, can you smell it? What would it be like to touch it? What would it be like to walk barefoot in it? Can you hear it? And I think why I'm saying that is that idea that we need to be able to imagine and to live in what we want. It's that idea of a prefigurative idea that we have to be able to imagine it in order to bring it into being. So Heather, I'm not sure about times, but I'm going to hand back to Jen.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll just say a little bit. So I guess what's really coming to me as well, Vicky, to be honest, I'm kind of with you. That's what was really coming to me, actually, this sense of the prefigurative, you know. We're in this beautiful environmental, social justice, system change movement, perhaps. I don't know how you see it. So yeah, I guess I was going to say that, as well as saying what it is that we don't want, hey? What kind of world are we kind of rebelling against? Regenerative cultures, of course, and the other, you know, principles and values, those cultures of our movement are really trying to invite that we start to envision what kind of world we would like to live in. And also, in all humility, you know, we are seeing these beautiful pictures of some parts of our world that are still regenerating, hey? And in all humility, seeing how they do it, you know. So this sense of the importance of cultures within a movement that's about system change, as far as we can feel it, we also need to have a North Star, you could say, pulling us forwards, hey? You know, some sense of what we're wanting to move towards. Can we even imagine it? Can we even imagine a culture where we really are listening to the ecosystem in all humility? How are you doing it? You know, woodland ecosystem. How do you do it? How do you live alongside each other? How do you do it? Culture on the oceans, yeah? The seabed cultures. How do you do it? How do you do it? Groups of people who are like in our meetings, eh? We have these beautiful meeting structures, don't we? Where we raise our hand and we have two fingers and then we do this and we, you know, this is cultures. So just really inviting that, what we're moving towards all the time, yeah? What might be drawing us forwards. And maybe we can't even put it into words as well, eh? You know, maybe it's hard to put into words, but we know something that feels right. We know, we say something makes sense, yeah? This makes sense to me. Of our senses, this makes sense. So really inviting that there's this inside job, I sometimes call it, you know, this inner transformation. And I know for one, there's a lot of changes going on in here, right? This being is changing. And as this being changes, I'm pretty sure the things around her change. So I'm just inviting, you know, in all humility, of the changes that are happening in you as part of this movement, this inner, this outer, this railing, the things that we rail against, and what we're moving towards. You know, as it has been said, there's something like 7 things that are needed in civil disobedience. Things like you got to, do stuff for a number of days. You talk about a number of arrests. You need to be in the places where the media is, those various aspects. But there has to be culture. There has to be culture as well. So yeah, maybe you could just just take it up to there.
And I think, Heather, we can come to you.
Yeah, I think we can. So I was going to maybe just show a few slides of where we sit in the XR thing movement. But Joe, I think, I'll just say it and we'll move on. It'd be good as we finish, because we're going to finish 6 minutes. Maybe we can take 5 minutes more. Can people stay for 10 minutes?
Not 10 minutes more, you mean 10 minutes from now? Yeah.
10 minutes from now. Yeah, anyway, I'll be brief. Basically, we sit in a larger circle called Systems and Cultures, and we have representatives, including Jen, that go into the hive, which, as probably is where everything feeds into. And I think that's enough for tonight. So I'll pass back to Vicky to sort of, bind us all in.
Okay, thanks, Heather. That was short and sweet. So it would be good for us to hear from you where you're landing with this, your reflections, what you'll take away with you, perhaps. Anything that you'd like to say before we check out. So this is your space. Is there anybody that would like to go first? Some brave soul. Theo, thank you.
I'm taking with me Genji's phrase that you use often, in all humility. I like that phrase. It's very good because it does make us have a sense of humility, learning from each other, not taking over, not the ego culture, but the eco culture. I think it's nicely put. Shall I pass on to somebody else? Would that be a good idea?
Yeah, please, that would be great.
I'll pass on to Maria.
I've been writing stuff down, just the odd parts. I'm sorry I missed half of it. So I've got half the wisdom from this group. The ecosystem to ego, from ecosystem, that's very powerful summary. The economics, just overriding everything. Actually the externalities, which is the bits that don't get valued in economics, is probably the bits we all care about. All the commons, all the free stuff, all the stuff that looks like, we should care about it. And then something that you just said, Genji, which is something that makes sense. And I wrote down, if it's something makes sense, is that making my senses, making myself feel more comfortable? So something about that, just that tiny phrase, just hit me there. James, could I invite you to speak?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm feeling a bit off this evening, and I think it's the US elections. So it's nice to come to this space, and I know you feel this feeling unsettled like I am. The word that jumped out to me this evening was diversity in the vision statement. That touches me at some level in a way that I can't quite articulate. So I'm going to take that away from me this evening. Thank you. Pass to Rebecca.
I'm usually very articulate, but I think the things that are happening for me this evening are not things that I can put words to. So I am going to duck and pass. Julia's put a comment in the chat, but I don't know if she wants to speak as well. Julia?
Yeah, I might as well. Yeah, when I'm in these meetings, I don't have a family. I live on my own, and yeah, I feel that I'm connected to an outer family, to be honest. It makes me feel, thank you, Heather. Yeah, it's very lonely being on one's own, and yeah, it's just wonderful to have people of a like mind. It's really, really, really important to me. Thank you. I'll pass on to Joanna.
Thank you.
Sorry, took a while to unmute. Yeah, I'm just glad I joined. It's been lovely taking part in this and hearing lots of yeah, inspiring and yeah, just nice lot of yeah, positive things. Sorry, my brain, I'm really tired. So but thank you ever so much. I can't see everyone, so I can't see who hasn't Catherine, I can see you on the screen, so I'll pass to Catherine.
Okay, thank you. Yes, yeah, well, definitely thank you for this evening. It's been really, really special to be here with you. And I'm feeling excited, and I'm feeling like there's an adventure ahead of me. And my sort of memorable phrase to take away is, what are we moving towards? So I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm going to pass on to a person who is in my breakout group. So Mary Small. Is Mary there?
Yeah, just takes this machine ages to unmute and put the camera on. Sorry. Yeah, it's been very interesting. I didn't really know what to expect in this meeting, but it's been nice being in the group and listening to what people said. And I think the time's come when we've got to think really deeply and clearly about what we're moving towards, because I think things could go downhill really quickly with all the what my children refer to as the clusterfuck, but I think we're supposed to call it a polycrisis. But I like clusterfuck a lot better, and I think the more clear we can have an idea of what we want and what we need, and the more networking we can do with people who want and need similar things, and the readier we can be to be holding hands out when things do really go belly up, then the better prepared we're going to be to survive it with some sort of dignity, which will be nice. And even if we don't survive it as a species, at least we don't have to go out fighting like rats, do we? So on that really cheery thought, who shall I pass to? I'll pass to the other Mary. Other Mary, there you go.
Yes, I really love the way we've sort of gone deep this evening, especially in times like this when so many things are very, very challenging, particularly Trump. To look at the things that nourish us, that we value, so many things those of us here have in common, which is lovely. So I valued that. I valued shifting my focus from today's news to much deeper stuff that nourishes us. And lovely to hear other people's thoughts and concerns and thoughts and what they value and what nourishes them. So yes, I feel nourished by this evening. I don't know if that's the right answer, but that's what came to me. Now, who hasn't been?
I think it's probably only Viola, if I've said that right. I think is Viola the one in Australia in bed? It's very early in the morning, I think. So I'm not sure, but if yeah, there's a message from her. So very grateful. Hang on. Very grateful for the phrasing of regenerative cultures versus extractive cultures, a phrasing people who aren't involved in the regen group to grasp. Thank you. So I think we're just a couple of minutes late. Please, I hope that's okay. And I think we can say have a good rest of your evening. And thank you so much for joining and sharing yourselves and your thoughts and your ideas. It's really special and important for us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
As we say in Wales, nos da. Good night.
Bye.
Nos da.
Yeah.
That's that.
I think I would say bore da, and that's good day, isn't it, Heather?
Good morning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bore da to Viola, maybe.
yeah, Viola.
Bore da.
Okay.